Hi, I'm Tom from Advocult Motorsport and racingcult.co.uk, and today we're going to show you how to install and set up your new Haltech Nexus plug-in for the Mazda RX8. So, you've just bought your new Haltech Nexus plug-in. Let's open the box and see what we get. Inside there, we are straight to the good stuff with your ECU. And underneath there, you get another little box of goodies. So we have instructions, which we're going to need later, and an expansion harness, which has a plug on there for an intake air temp sensor, because normally the intake air temp is in the MAF, which we're not going to use, and a plug for a onboard lambda sensor. We've also got the bracketry to mount the ECU in the standard ECU box in the engine bay, intake air temp sensor, vacuum line and a T-piece, and the tuning cable, and then everyone's favourite, stickers. Now, we've also opted to add on the LSU 4.9 wideband hardware pack. This means we've got a lambda sensor straight into the exhaust, and it'll really help us with tuning the car on the dyno. Now we know what we've got, let's go and have a look at the car that we're using. Okay, so this is new to us, RX8. I'll be honest with you, we got this for a bit of a steal. It is everything you dream of when you go and buy a car. One elderly lady owner from brand new, full service history, compression is mid-sevens, so that's perfectly fine. We shouldn't really notice any drop in performance from there. Everything works. There's surprisingly still sills on it. For a UK RX8 bonus. It is completely standard, apart from I threw some spare wheels on it because I couldn't stand looking at the standard wheels. So we haven't even, all we've done is check oil level. We haven't even checked plugs or anything like that, but it has had a lot of work done in its history. We've driven it around a little bit. It's absolutely fine. Doesn't seem to be any issues present, so it should be a perfect test bed for us to do this example on. So first thing we're going to do, we've already got it loaded up on the dyno. Let's get some cameras in the car and outside the car, and we'll do 3 power runs and have a look, see if there's any changes between it, and see where we are for a bit of a base to start with. Okay, so our car's up to temperature. We're going to do a power test. So our dyno gives us a couple of options. The first one is 350 horsepower. I don't think we're quite going to achieve that. We'll have a starting speed of 30 miles per hour and minimum load on the dyno. So let's turn the cooling fan on and off we go. So we've done 3 runs back to back. On the screen here, this is the best run of the 3. They were all within a couple of % of each other. As you can see here, we've got flywheel horsepower, torque, and lambda. Now we made 177 horsepower and about high 120s foot-pound of torque. We've never seen a stock 231 really crack above 200, so this is what we would expect. So this is really the best baseline for us to compare against when we install the new ECU. So now that's done, let's get on to installing all the nice things. So we've pulled the car off the dyno to install the ECU. We've got it in the standard tray for it. We've also fitted the vacuum line, and we've put the optional lambda sensor in the downpipe. Now this is all covered in the instructions that come with the ECU. Very simple to do, but yeah, we are pretty much ready to set it up and turn the key. What we're going to do is, imagine you don't have a laptop. We've got a Wi-Fi enabled ECU which uses the app, so we might as well show how that works. I'm going to get in the car, turn the ignition on, connect to it with my phone, and we'll go through the setup procedure. So we're in the car. I'm going to turn the ignition on for the first time. I can hear fuel pumps priming. So let's go to the Haltech Connect app. And then there's an option here for got a new ECU. So copy default password and connect to ECU Wi-Fi. Let's go on our Wi-Fi, and we've got Haltech Nexus Mazda RX8 Series 1. I'm going to paste that password in there and join. And then I'm going to go back to my Haltech Connect app, and it is loading the definition file from the ECU. So this is the point now where we go through and select which car that we've got and any preferences on which sensors we're using. So legal notice, I agree. Vehicle name, Advocate. Next, so we have an RX8 MSP 6-port ECU. Next, air temp sensor. We're going to go sensor wideband and air temp aux harness. And internal MAF on factory pin 5N for our air temp sensor. Next, engine capacity. This is all defined from the option we selected. And then aspiration, naturally aspirated. Select our throttle body, Mazda RX8, drive-by-wire throttle. And we have a 6-port with stock porting. Petrol, we don't have a fuel pressure sensor on the car yet. Base fuel pressure, this is all automatically filled out by some of the previous choices that we've made. And stage 2 secondary injectors, Renesis 6-port. Stage 3, Renesis 6-port. Ignition coils, we've got stock coils on this car. Okay, so now we've done that, we've got our checklist and a bunch of green ticks. It gives us some sensor data, so we've got 6 steps left. So let's go next. And we need to calibrate our pedal. So we're currently at 0%. press calibrate, and then I apply full throttle, press calibrate again, and there we go, everything's working. And then next, and next. So test fuel pump, start test. I can hear it working. Did the fuel pump turn on? Yes. Test fuel pump speed, start test. Stop test. Did the pump turn on full speed? Yes, it did. Next, thermo fan, start test. I can hear it on. Did it turn on? Yes, and thermo fan 2. I can hear that as well. Yes, and this looks like it might be the last step. So it says crank the engine, warning, engine may start. So what it's going to do is check our trigger, our injectors, our ignition, knock sensor, and manifold pressure. So crank the engine. The car is running. I've got ticks all over, and I'm going to press complete. And look at that, we haven't touched the base map, and the car is running and idling. So what we're going to do now, we've got that step out of the way, we're going to get the car back on the dyno, we'll get a laptop, and we'll look at some finer data. Okay, so we're in the car on the dyno. Now we are going to be bold as brass. We're going to turn O2 control on because we've got our lambda sensor in the downpipe, and we're going to allow it to make 20% changes, and we are just going to go straight into a wide open throttle pull. Now this is not something that I would advise you to do, but it is a test of how good is the base map. We're about to find out. So car is on, I can see all of my data. So I'm just going to go into fuel tuning now, and I'm going to have a look at O2 control, and it is allowed to control the fuel table from 500 RPM up to 9,000 RPM. Let's have a look. Maximum enrichment 25%, maximum disenrichment 25%. I'm not even going to bother changing that. Let's just have a look at our engine function. So our current main limiter is ignition cut, which is what I would always recommend on a rotary, and we've got 9,000 RPM. Now currently I've got I'm not sure if you can see it, I've got a nice little lambda trace here for target versus actual. Now the stock car was high 11s AFR towards the top, wide open throttle. So let's have a little look at our target lambda table, and we are targeting 11.8 atmospheric. So let's just go in and see what it does. So I'm going to set myself a PC log going. We're all set up on the dyno. Login, let's go. Now I'm only going to back out if we see anything crazy. Okay, so that was a wide open throttle pull. Looking at the log, there was periods where it was adding maximum. There was a little blip there where it added 10%, but we were less than 10% corrections all the way through, and we have made pretty much exactly the same horsepower. So I would not recommend that you go out and wide open throttle on a base map at all. But we've just done it, and it was absolutely fine. So I suppose now we've got to go through, tune the car, and see if we can get any more horsepower out of it. Okay, so that's the car tuned. We've gone through all the stages, installation, and we added some, well, one extra sensor, the lambda sensor. And we managed to pick up some power, clean up the air fuel trace, and make a bit of torque as well. Overall, just make the car perform a little bit better than when it came out the factory. But this ECU strength is not just on a stock car. It gives you the ability to add extra sensors like oil, temp and pressure. You can build in some safety margins on that as well for minimum oil pressure. Now we've got on board lambda, we can add lean out margin protection. I think one of its strongest assets is if you are looking to Bridgeport your car, take your car on track and you want recoverable data from the ECU. Also, if you're looking to turbocharge your RX8, this ECU gives you so much more control over the OEM ECU. It's a great first purchase because you can fit it and you can do all these other things afterwards and really develop your project. The ECU is fabulous. We're big fans of Haltech here. We fit them on everything. We tune high horsepower RX7s, and this is another example of a true plug and play setup. If you want to come to us to have your car tuned, I know we did the example where we went straight into a wide open pull and everything was fine. The O2 control did a bit of the heavy lifting and was adding, in some places 10%, but on average 5 to 7%. In the middle of the map, we had to do quite a bit of tuning on the base map. So it's not something that I would recommend you just fit and go and do a track day. I think you would be absolutely fine to fit the ECU, drive to a dyno to have someone tune it. But there is definitely tuning that needs to be done. But yeah, great success. If you want to buy Haltech ECU, go to racingcult.co.uk because we can sell you the stuff and fit the stuff and tune the stuff. So go and do that. Thanks. Bye.